Alright, so the film that I have chosen has been Allá en el Rancho Grande. The question I will be answering is, how does the film represent life in the ranch and Mexican culture? Personally, I know people live out in the ranch in Mexico, and I felt that it really related to their lives and things that I have personally seen. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump right in. Alright, so music plays a big part of the film. The film was named after a song, actually. So the música regional mexicana is an important part of the culture and its spirit. So here I placed a picture of my uncle's group playing music, since it is a very important life of the Mexican lifestyle. And guns were also a symbolic part of the film, because you can see the rancheros carrying around the guns throughout the film. They would carry the guns for protection, and people on the ranch, they do that actually. Here's also my friend. He would always walk around with his gun, and he has actually needed to use it, thankfully, non-person. And then the cantinas are also something that was depicted in the film. The cantinas are where the men gather to have a drink, to just talk and sing. And in the movie, they gathered to drink, and they were celebrating that they had won the horse race. And so horse races is also another hobby in Mexico, in the Mexican culture. So Jose Francisco promised that if he won the race, he would use that money to marry Cruz. And I also added a picture of my brother himself going to a horse race just for fun though. And las peleas de gallos are also an important part of the Mexican culture. My cousin himself, he breeds these chicks, and they grow up to be used for the fights. And this is actually still legal in Mexico, according to Juniper Publishers. And the men in the ranch and film also were participating in these cockfights. And what do all these pictures have in common? Every single picture, men. Men are the ones that took part in these activities. They were the ones having fun. Masculinity is very important in the Mexican culture. Machismo, it isn't always a good thing though. So machismo, men are still very superior to women in the Mexican culture. In rural areas like ranchos, these old-fashioned traditions still live. They're still very common. Jose Francisco moved in from El Rancho Grande, from El Rancho Chico. And as you may know, people from, as there's many ranchos, people typically have pride in where they're from. And since Francisco was a kid when he moved, he was very proud to be from El Rancho Grande. And Felipe, he grew up to become el jefe del rancho. And his employees were very important to him, as they were to his dad, because family is very important in the Mexican culture. It was very important for Felipe to live up to his father's legacy and his expectations, and he really looked up to him. And going back to the family values, Angela took in Jose Francisco and his sister because she is their godmother, and they needed her when their mother died. Cruz was nothing to her, which is why she treated her so poorly. Angela took the role of the typical overprotective Hispanic mother. The Pew Research Center has reported 72% of Hispanic parents admit to they are overprotective, so this stereotype may be true. Friendship and loyalty is also important out in the ranch. Since ranches are very small, you get to be fairly acquainted to the people that are around you, and they bring the people together. Jose Francisco and Felipe were very loyal to each other, to the point Jose Francisco took a bullet for Felipe. In romantic relationships, in the Mexican culture, men are respectful of women when they're in a relationship. Jose Francisco wanted to marry Cruz so that she would no longer be Angela's maid, and so that she would finally have her happy ending. And then going back to the masculinity part of it, Felipe took advantage of Cruz because it is something that's sadly common in Mexican culture as well, and it is just simply a part of life. Felipe forcefully kissed Cruz even though she did not consent to it. Knowing this, Jose Francisco felt betrayed. In Mexico, we are known for being prideful and holding grudges, so Jose Francisco confronted Felipe with a gun when he found out what had happened. When he found out it had all been Angela's doing, Jose Francisco did forgive his friend. But being prideful, he still insisted him and Cruz needed to move to El Rancho Chico so that everybody could forget what had happened. They ended up convincing them to stay. Felipe and Jose Francisco friendship was saved, and they were happy. At the end, everyone got married. They all lived happily ever after. It's the classic telenovela ending. Ultimately, Allá el Rancho Grande celebrates life out on the ranch and it celebrates Mexican culture. But if you really pay attention, it is quite obvious machismo overpowers them, which incidentally is the biggest flaw of the Mexican culture too.